Brian Von VA here. You know I'm a sucker for a good story, especially a great backstory. So to that end, hey, tell me about your great backstory ideas. Part 1. Here's a background of a character I'm currently using. For those who wondered, has Fenrir always hated dragonkind? That, in its own right, is a long and treacherous story to be sure, and take from the story as you will, but this story is not for the faint of heart. Disclaimer. Nearly a decade ago lived a young but passionate priest named Fenrir, devoted follower of Bahamut. Fenrir traveled the world helping and guiding those who had lost their way. One day, he returned home from a long and difficult journey. Everyone knew Fenrir as he healed many that was struck with a vile plague a few years back. Many loved and respected him due to his unique and extremely rare type of powerful magic that can rival the god's own magic, if developed properly. One that was not granted to him by a divine/demonic being. His entire life would be flipped upside on this one faithful day. That day was like any other. For the past few days, there had been dragon attacks from all around the country, destroying everything in their path, and unbeknownst to them, 2 dragons, one black and one blue, came out of nowhere and started attacking the town. Fenrir tried to fight them. His power has not been properly developed for combat, so he couldn't do anything to them, nor did they seem to notice. He then noticed some strange dragon behavior from them. It was as if they were looking for something, or more specifically, someone. When they finally took notice of him, the dragon suddenly swooped down and captured Fenrir. Fenrir tried to get them to stop, but it was too late. The entire village was destroyed, and the attack was too sudden for the townspeople to escape. The dragons took Fenrir to their lair. There is where his faith in his god will be tested. For the next 10 long and torturous years, he had been tortured and experimented never to see the light of day again. In all that time, he prayed to Bahamut in hopes that he will free him and smite his captors. But he never came, nor did he answer any of his praise. So he prayed even harder. Still nothing. He then prayed to other gods and goddesses. None came and none answered. He grew tired of praying and began to lose hope that the gods even cared about what happens to their creations. Then, one day, he stopped completely. He lost faith in not only his god, but he lost faith in all gods. So, the one day he decided if he wants to be free, he'll do it himself. So that fateful afternoon, he waited for Gundred, the black dragon, to come to take him to his torture chamber like always. But today, Gundred wasn't alone. He brought Scath, the blue dragon. They took him into a chamber I didn't recognize. Scath then told Gundred in a rasp as he started attaching me to some hanging chains, "Okay, now if we combine our magic and direct the spell towards the boy, we might be able to force him into using his magic, but it might kill him." Gundred then looked at me and said with a menacing tone, "Looks like this is your lucky day, kid. Who knows, you might die and finally be rid of this place. Then again, you're quite fun to torture, I have to admit." At that very moment, they shot Fenrir with all of their magical power, causing Fenrir massive amounts of pain. Then, all at once, his body began to change. He suddenly grew a dragon's horn, and his arms started to move and twist in unnatural ways, even starting to grow random patches of scales on his arm. Then suddenly, Fenrir, while clenching his teeth through the pain, he spoke out one single phrase. "By my strength alone, nature will bow down before me. I call upon you, Tiamat, Queen of Chaos." Suddenly, 5 different colored speared dragon heads appeared out of nowhere and attacked the dragons, killing them in the process. The attack ended, and he noticed a strange woman standing at the edge of the door with a demonic grin on her face, said one word and one word only: "Perfect." She helped Fenrir down from where he was hanging. Fenrir began to ask with a mixture of rage and exhaustion in his voice, "Who are you?" She responded with a calm and a malicious tone. "Oh, darling, you know who I am." Fenrir looked down in both exhaustion and disappointment. He had just summoned a Tiamat aspect and in the process killed her children using it. "Why did you help me?" Fenrir asked, fearfully for what was about to come next. The aspect responded, "Nothing. Those two imbeciles did everything they were supposed to and even more." She walked him outside the lair and said, "There is a town nearby with a doctor in it. I advise you to go to him and say that I request him to heal you." The aspect then dissipated, leaving Fenrir with an unrivaled hatred for dragons and those like it. A doctor found him and took care of him until he woke up. When he woke up, he found himself on the doctor's bed and one arm less. The doctor answered any and all questions he had and was able to supply him with a mechanical version of his arm. The downside was that the arm requires a large amount of magic to function properly. Normally, the human body wouldn't be able to produce enough arcana to supply it, but thanks to his newfound horn, he'd be capable of doing so, rendering him incapable of casting magic of any kind. Today's video is sponsored by ReRoll.co. Are you a D&D fan who just wants to see their character come to life in physical form? But, like me, you can't draw a stick figure to save your life? ReRoll.co has you covered. ReRoll.co uses the 5th edition SRD content and a 16-bit pixel art style to help you build the character of your dreams. With an ever-growing selection of races, equipment, and outfits, your character will be ready for any adventure. If you want a bit more flair to your care, ReRoll has you covered with plenty of background art to help your character stand out in all their glory, with new art added recently, so check that out too. ReRoll.co is available on iOS, Android, and if you're a caveman like me who doesn't own a phone, it works on web browsers too. ReRoll.co, bringing life to your D&D characters one roll at a time. Now, let's get back to the stories, shall we? It's a tad short, but it's my favorite so far that I've written, for a villain that is. A boy is playing in the grass outside a farmstead. The boy has dark skin, like his family, but he's still different. He has long white hair and toxic green eyes. He's hunched over some dirt, drawing in it with a stick. A young girl approaches the boy. She, too, has white hair and green eyes. "Kren?" the girl says. The boy jumped at the name. He turned around, bright green eyes flashing in the setting sun. "Risa, you scared me. Don't do that, please," the boy, Kren, replied. "Pa says it's time for the evening meal," Risa says back. Her eyes flashed with fear. "All right, I'll head back. Come on, Risa. I'll walk with you," Kren says with a hopeful smile on his face. They both walk to the house. "What's for the evening meal?" Kren asks. "I don't know. Pa didn't tell me." When they got back to the farmhouse, a large man sat at the table with a timid, small woman on the other end. Anytime the man moved, the woman flinched a small amount. When the children entered, the man sat up.
"You're late, Kren. Where were you?"
The man asks, his deep voice rumbling. I was out in the fields, father," Kren answers, his voice trembling. He looked down at the ground, head hung in shame. The man gets up and walks over to Kren. He stared, his brown eyes filled with rage.
"You need to speak up, boy,"
he shouted, punching Kren in the face with force. He flies back into a wall. The woman screams. Kren is writhing on the ground, face bleeding. The man walks towards Kren, fists clenched. The man raises his fist to strike another blow. Risa threw herself before Kren, defending him. "Pa, stop this! It's unneeded!" she shouted. Kren slowly stood up behind her.
"Get out of my way, girl!"
he bellows as he knocked Risa aside. Kren's eyes go wide in shock. Risa was knocked into the fireplace and caught on fire. Her screams of pain filled the house as Kren and the woman tried to extinguish her, but they were impeded by the man, constantly attempting to strike Kren. Kren picked up the ash-covered fire stoker and began to hit back. He struck the man firmly in the side of the head, which felled him. Kren didn't stop there. He kept repeatedly bashing the man's head over and over. Eventually, the man's blood coated the floor around his head and the stoker. When Kren stopped, the woman was bewildered. Kren dropped the stoker and rushed towards Risa. She had mild burns over her body because the woman was successful in extinguishing Risa before any major damage happened. Kren took Risa's unconscious body and left the farmhouse. The boy muttered to himself, still carrying an unconscious Risa. On this day, I am no longer Kren. I will take a new name and shake this world down to its roots. That was one of my favorite stories ever. One of my players in a high-level campaign rolled up a half-elf hexblade warlock named the Dread Captain. He was the captain of a pirate crew who were always on the lookout for the treasure of the mystical persuasion. On a stormy night while docked on a lawless island, they hear rumor of a ship full of college wizards that sank near the jagged rocks of a reclusive shoreline. The fearless crew set sail after a few pints with the hopes of a big magical score. They find the ship, half jutting out of the water with bloated mages' bodies peppering the shore. The crew raid the guts of the brig, making out like bandits. Chests full of scrolls, spell books, and many other items that get a premium on the black market. The captain hears a distant voice echoing in his head, calling for him. He follows the voice as it gets louder, guiding him deeper into the ship. He discovers the voice was originating from an impressive sword forged from metals not of his own world. Captain grabs the hilt without a thought, as if the voice was puppeteering his actions. In the instant his hand touched the wicked weapon, his mind goes black. He wakes up to the bodies of his crew polluting the deck of his ship, their blood dripping from the tip of his still wet blade. The sword, while powerful, is tainted with occult magic and enchanted with the thoughts of its unknown blacksmith. The Dread Captain now sails the seas, cursed to share his mind and body with whatever mysterious entity that brought him to his sword. His only company being the vengeful spirits of his still loyal crew and the echoing voice. That's just so cool. A hobgoblin artificer who was the chieftain of a technologically advanced tribe of goblins. He taught the tribes how to properly apply their scavenging ways to create magical devices and would ambush caravans to obtain even more materials. Oh right, lawful evil. When the big bad evil guy approached my tribe to try to recruit them for his cause, my character denied his offer, stating that they were only doing what they were doing to survive and not to conquer. Even bested the BBEG in combat because he was in his weakened state at the time as a show of strength. The big bad evil guy, however, did not forget his humiliating defeat to a tribe of goblins, however. When he became stronger and gained a larger following, he returned to the tribe and wiped them out, leaving the chieftain alive to lament his mistake. The chieftain was a bad person, don't get me wrong, but he cared at least for the well-being of his tribe. He vowed to get revenge for his fallen tribe. He joined the party as a lawful evil character in a primarily good party. He stated that, "You don't have to like my methods, but this demon does not play fair either. If you hesitate to do what is best to take this thing down, then I'll do it." He wasn't an edgelord either, but rather a realist. Despite his attitude, he was friendly to his companions, even if they didn't agree with his methods. He shown and taught the ranger how to tinker, and got along fine with the wizard. Brian Von VA here, wishing you all well. If you liked today's video, then please leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on r/MrRipper, where you can submit your stories to us for a chance to have them read here in a video or read live. Clicking that bushy face in the center of the screen will take you to yours truly, my channel, Brian Von VA, your local narrator, where you'll find gaming streams and voice acting videos, as well as a podcast too. With that said, I hope everyone knows how much I appreciate each and every one of you, from the hardworking people out there risking themselves daily out and about, to the folks at home who are still nervous and anxious about things. I've got your back. I'm always going to do my best to bring some warmth to your heart, and I'm proud to do it. I enjoy making each and every one of you smile and happy on your way to work or when you're just chilling at home. You guys and gals and everyone in between are literally amazing, so please, from me to you, cuddle up, give yourself a much needed hug, and keep on fighting out there. All the love from me to you. Be safe, be happy, see you next time.